Can you save money by owning a family milk cow? We've been doing it for 6 years. I've got all my numbers here. Let's see.
We actually did a poll of our audience, you all out there on Instagram and on YouTube, for all the people who own cows. Do they save money on cows or not save money on cows? And I think you're going to be shocked to hear, out of the 200 people, how many say they didn't save money on their cow. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, our cow. Ten years ago, we started a farm business.
Yeah, and so that meant when I came to him and said I want to have a family milk cow,
I was like, oh, let's look at the numbers and see if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Comment below, are you the one who wants the cow, or are you the one who is trying to convince the partner not to get the cow? Let us know who's watching this video.
I started looking at my numbers because I just did a family milk class 101, and at the beginning of the class I said, will a milk cow save you money? Because it's the reason so many people want to get a family milk cow. It was one of our reasons. I wanted a hobby, and we were spending $8 for a raw milk up at the local dairy. I thought, 2 birds with 1 stone.
That's kind of where we actually have to start this discussion of whether or not you're going to save money with a milk cow, is what do you actually spend on dairy? I wanted to know, what are you, our audience, actually spending? So I actually polled our audience on Instagram. I asked, how much do you spend weekly on dairy at the supermarket? And 45% of the people who answered this question said about $10 to $20. And remember, that's cheese and butter and yogurt and coffee creamer and milk and
cottage cheese. Our kids
all
love
that
cottage
good
cheese.
stuff.
For the purpose of just trying to figure out if a cow will save you money, we're going to go for an average of $20.
$20. Let's do $20 a week on groceries.
Because we know the price of butter is like through the roof.
So what does a cow cost us weekly? Let's talk cow startup costs. We started up 6 years ago when our first dairy cow arrived to our homestead.
A Jersey, kind of regular sized Jersey, with New Zealand grazing genetics from Virginia. So it cost a little bit more than a cow would have from my local dairy, but she was disease tested, she was rebred with mini Jersey semen, so she did have a little bit more value than, say, going to a local farm.
$3,000, that's what she cost.
No, not quite.
No?
25 maybe? I think it was, I want to say like 27, but maybe with shipping.
Price is Right rules?
And how did we afford that? Because we were very broke.
We were. That was a huge cost to us. So what we did to kind of balance out the cost of Ladybug, we built the barn that she was going to go in out of our own lumber from our homestead. We cut down the trees, milled it, brought it to a
When
local
he says
mill.
we, he means he did.
Aww.
He was supporting me.
Also, at the time, I was working construction on a job where we were tearing down a house that had burned, and about half of the house was shiplap siding, wood siding, same color as we wanted our barn, and only a little bit smoke and charcoal-y.
It was just for a barn.
Instead of spending thousands of dollars on our little cow barn there, we spent under $1,000 on that project. It was a lot of sweat equity, but it was a really cool way to save money. So that offset the cost. Whereas you might not be able to find a burnt down house.
Or you might not have the skills, but you can buy a small 3-sided shed from an Amish builder.
And you could probably find a cheaper cow than what we did.
Yeah, so we're trying to give averages here. This is all stuff you need to get started for a cow. If you don't have a cow yet, please think about this and put this into your budget, your consideration. Don't spend $4 grand on a cow but not have any money left for, say, a barn or fencing, which is another expense that we kind of did very basic fencing at first. I said around $300 for the fencing. Just some electric fencing posts and an energizer.
And then for milking supplies, early on you actually had milking supplies for your goat milking hobby. and you just used those.
I haven't purchased anything beyond what we had for the goats already because the cow was a big investment. So I really want to make sure we like this, we like milking before we invest any more.
If someone were gonna buy a stainless steel pail and a couple
you
ball
can
jars.
go pretty cheap with your milking equipment. First, you can use a pot you have.
Yeah, so
you don't need anything fancy.
So our total numbers were $3,000 for the cow, $1,000 for the barn, and $300 on fencing supplies.
Now you can save money on this. You can get a cow from a local dairy, so you don't have to worry about shipping. If you're looking at a local dairy, say it's gonna be a Jersey cow, great homestead cow. Maybe she's a lower production or she's getting pushed off of the feed and the dairy's looking to sell her because she's still a good cow. All 4 quarters are working, good cow, nice milk, disease tested, her feet look good. She's a nice cow to buy, which is really something you should be looking for just to make your family cow journey easy. She's bred back, she's ready to bring to your house. I'm gonna say for our area, $1,500 to $2,500 for that kind of cow.
So you could save money on your cow startup cost.
Yeah, you could save $1,000 on your cow. Your startup cost, you don't have to buy milking equipment. If you have a pot that you have on hand, you can use coffee filters to filter your milk, cheesecloth, or a dishcloth that you already have.
You will need a little bit of electric fencing supplies, so that number is going to stay the same. Now, maybe you have a barn already, shed.
Right, something you can convert to a shelter for her or a milk room.
That would be awesome. If not, $1,000 to $2,000.
You can make a pretty cheap one. I mean, we have made shelters out of fences, zip tied or radiator clamped together with a tarp over it. You can do cheaper for your first year.
Your first cow, first year, just need them out of the rain. So you could do a cheaper structure.
So then you're looking at, I'd say, if you get your cow, your startup costs can be around $2,000.
Which, if you go over an 8-year period and then divide that into 52 weeks per year, your weekly expense for cow startup cost could be somewhere around $5 a week for owning your milk cow. That leaves us $15 to work with. If we want to save money, somewhere around $10 in expenses. So do our weekly expenses add up to somewhere $5, $10 where we would still be saving money? Okay, there's a lot of costs associated with keeping a family milk cow. The first and probably biggest is feed. Good?
Yeah.
You have 3 different things to consider when feeding your cows. You got hay, which it's winter, we're hay feeding right now. Grain, and their minerals. Hay is an expense that, depending on where you live, you'll either need to buy more or less of it. Where we are, we have a winter, a period where the grass isn't growing. Unless you're in New Zealand, you're probably gonna have a period of time where you're not growing grass.
It's Florida.
I don't know, comment below. We have because we stockpile graze, and we talk about that in a different video, click there if you wanna learn more. We have about 5 months out of the year that we have to feed hay. And that means January to about May. Depending on the size of your cow, you'll need to give more or less hay. These 2 are very small, little, young cows of our mini bull and our mini Jersey heifer here. They share 1 bale, but a full-size dairy girl is gonna need about a bale of hay, a small square bale of hay a day during your non-growing grass period. For us, that costs about $4 a bale, but of course the price on hay is going up this year. You're probably paying more than $4 a bale. So a bale a day for 5 months, that's gonna be about 150 bales at $4. That gives you about $600 for just your 1 dairy girl in hay, if you're paying what we're paying. Now you can save money on hay. We have a whole video, click there, all the strategies we use to save money on hay. But at the end of the day, that's a cost that exists. There's no getting around it unless you move somewhere where the grass grows all year long.
Now, your Jersey from the dairy, she's giving you about 3 gallons of milk a day. Gallon and a half in the morning, gallon and a half in the evening. That's nice production for a homestead. A good rule of thumb is 3 pounds of grain for every gallon of milk. So for your 3 gallons of milk, 9 pounds of grain. That means 3 pounds of grain per gallon of milk, 9 pounds of grain a day, 340 days. They do have a dry off period, 3,060 pounds of grain a year. Our grain mix is $13.75 a bag. That'll be $841 a year on grain. I also supplement with alfalfa pellets and beet pulp. That is $384 a year, which brings the grain total for the year, if this is how you choose to feed your cow, your 3 gallon a day Jersey, to $1,225 per year for grain, alfalfa, beet pulp. You can decrease this. You can get a different cow. You can get a beef dairy cross who's going to need less grain to provide milk for you. She'll provide less milk. So instead of feeding 9 pounds of grain daily, you could feed 5 pounds of grain daily, keeping a close eye on your cow's condition and making sure you're feeding her enough for the milk that she's producing for you. For example, our mini Jerseys, I always say they stay fat on air. It's a problem for them, but we don't feed them much grain because they don't need it. They also produce less milk than our Guernsey does. She's a bigger cow. She has to eat more to keep up her milk production and to make sure she doesn't get too thin. We could never take our Guernsey from the dairy, put it at our farm, and just feed her grass and hay. She would lose a lot of weight because of her milk production. There are dairies who will exclusively grass feed their cows. They're getting genetics from cows who have been designed, who have been bred to just be able to milk on hay and grass, alfalfa supplementation. If you want to be able to do that, find a cow who has been bred for that.
Get nice, pretty fancy behind you. We're rolling.
You'll also want to make sure your cows have minerals. We've lost pregnancies because they didn't get the minerals they should. For an average cow, if you go through 4 bags of minerals, we're spending $32 for a bag of minerals. That does include some waste if they get wet, if they get knocked over. $128 for minerals per year. You can probably get away with less if you're able to keep your minerals in a barn, in a closed area. There are some who say you can get away with 2 bags of minerals a year, $64 a year for minerals. That gives us a grand total of $1,889 for the year for feed, hay, minerals for your Jersey.
Now, that's just feeding your cow. A healthy cow needs a lot of other things like foot care, medical checkups. What do we spend each year on one cow's health? We've shown this on the channel before. Every year, twice a year, our girls get a pedicure. The hoof man comes to town and he trims their feet. That costs $20 per cow. Twice a year, 40 bucks on foot care. If nothing goes wrong, you might not need quite so many vet visits, but usually things go wrong and then a vet needs to come and check out your cow and, you know, give them a shot for something you can't do. So we factored 3 vet visits a year. For us, they usually cost about 100 bucks just for the visit plus medication. We're gonna say about 120 per visit for a total of $360. Might be more for you, might be less.
Yeah. How can you save money on this? You can do your own vet work. You can get the medications from your vet. Most vets, I think legally, they're required to have seen your animals within the last year to give you medication for them. So if your farm vet's been out there, you paid your $100 for your farm visit, you can call in and say, hey, can I get a prescription for Lutalice? I need to sync my cow for breeding. Or can I get some, she's got a cough, can I get an antibiotic for that? Most farm vets are pretty accommodating because they understand it's really expensive. You can give your own shots. You can treat your own hoof issues. You can treat lice, mites, a lot of colds you can treat, stomach upset. You can learn to do all this stuff yourself and save yourself some vet visits. Your cow came to you bred. Great. Make sure that's Make sure that happens. Make sure your cow
She
comes
talks
to you
about
bred.
that in her Cow 101 class. That is a huge point you make in that class.
Yeah,
Get a bred cow.
That'll help you your first year of having a dairy cow
don't
for
skip
sure.
that.
But she's had her calf, and now it's time to breed her back. If you need to have your cow bred to give you milk, you can stretch her lactation for a year or two, but she'll eventually have to have another calf, so you have to get her bred.
Breeding cost is going to be all over the board, depending on if you use a bull, if you have somebody near you who can bring a bull, what do they charge for a stud fee? For the point of our breakdown today, we're going to say that you get an AI, an artificial insemination.
And she takes on the first try.
Hey, good for you.
No hormones or anything. You cut that heat perfectly, and she got bred. We just got...
Spoiler alert, that's really hard to do, but anyway.
We just got the AI tech here. It was $40 for his visit. We live about an hour and a half away from him. And I used sexed semen, which was $40. You can save on that. You can get less expensive semen. And a tech who lives closer. I just don't have one. The semen, $40 for the visit. That's $80 for
in
the
a
year.
year, if it takes on the first one. I don't think we've ever had the first one take, but
no,
it can happen. One other thing we saw on a lot of people's cost breakdowns was bedding for their cows, and we do, as you see, Freddie here has some bedding, but what her bedding is you feed her hay and she wastes some of it and that winds up on the ground. You feed her new hay, so we don't really spend much on bedding for cows. You might, it's a marginal expense, nothing that's gonna add up that much over time, unless you keep your cows in the barn all day long, every day, and then it could become a bigger expense. We don't do that.
All right, what's this one?
I think we're ready for our total.
Oh, where's my Clippy?
Clippy. Where'd Clippy go?
Traditional Clippy, that's your thing.
Sorry guys, not that Clippy. We're
Oh,
running
actually,
out of
we
battery.
forgot one thing.
What did we forget?
Testing.
Oh, testing, right.
I've got one last thing to include here that's on my clipboard, and that's testing. Pregnancy testing I send to Lancaster DHIA. For shipping and the test included is about $10. It's not too expensive. Also disease testing. That's a nice thing to do annually if you would like to give some of your milk to friends and family and you want to feel secure in it, or for feeding your own family if you want to test your cow for any of the diseases. For that I send to the state vet college lab, and that is about $50 for some basic disease testing, bringing us to $60 a year for testing. And that, I believe, is everything on this
Are we ready
spreadsheet.
for the total? The total. Remember, we're trying to beat $20 a week in dairy expenses. Calculator time. What?
You're so over the top.
I'm excited about a
So
calculator.
for feed, it was $1,889.
Yep.
Add to that for health was $540. Equals what?
$2,429
For the year.
divided by 52 weeks. Add the $5 a week in amortized cost.
Okay, so add
We're
that
looking
five
at
is-
$50 a week to keep your average family milk cow. You don't save money on a family milk cow.
You don't save money. There are ways to get this $50 a week figured down. We maybe, with the right cow, we could cut this $50 total. Could we cut it in half in some circumstances? It's possible, right? So say we even cut that in half to $25. That's more than what a lot of us are spending on dairy. Even if we have a big fat cow we never need to feed anything ever to.
Now hold on, because I know what you're typing. We're about to get to our poll. Are we alone in this? Are we the only ones who aren't saving money on a cow? We'll talk about that in a second. I know a lot of you right now are typing down below in the comments, you didn't consider selling the calf, you didn't talk about selling milk, feeding other animals with the milk, about the value in the manure, you didn't talk about selling milk. Did I already say that?
Yeah.
We know that a family milk cow brings so many things to a homestead and has so many different ways that you can make money from that cow or add value. And we will talk about that in a future video, so stay tuned. But for the point of this video, we imagine somebody out there who's been watching our videos, sees how wonderful a family milk cow is, and wants to do it but is concerned about the cost. If you are worried about saving money on your current dairy bill, and you don't have pigs to feed, and you don't have customers who are looking to buy milk, and you don't have
8 kids.
and you don't have 8 kids, you're not going to save money by getting the cow. And we are not alone in this. Let's get to the poll numbers. We asked our audience on Instagram and YouTube who owned a family cow if they thought it saved them money or if it didn't save them money, but they loved their cow anyways. Before I give you the poll results, if this video has been helpful to you so far, consider hitting the like button, letting us know that you do like this kind of video, and that will let us decide whether or not we make more in the future. Now, on to our poll results. Based off the results of our poll, out of 232 answers, 136 people, or just about 60% of the cow owners, said that their cow did not save them money, but they love her anyway. Now, just a quick note on the poll because I know I'm going to get the questions. First off, we tallied up all the individual responses across multiple platforms and came up with our own percentages based off those results. The other interesting thing to note from the poll, of the 40% of the people who said they did save money from their cow, half of those did that through some sort of money earning, a business. So if you're just looking to save money and not start a business, only 2 out of every 10 cow owners reported that they saved money without doing any additional business from their homestead. Will you save money on your cow? You have about a 20% chance of making that happen.
I would say we're on team the cows do not save us money.
So why even have a family milk cow if you're not going to save money?
I mean, I got into it as a hobby, which is a good way to do it.
It's more profitable than playing golf.
Lower your expectations.
In Kay's Family Milk Cow 101 class, she goes into a lot of pros and cons about a family milk cow and talks about some really good reasons you might want to bring one onto your homestead. If you're a Homesteady pioneer, that's in the library. Go ahead and check that out. It's a great class. She did really good with it.
And although they don't save us money, there's a reason we went from 1 and now we have like 8.
Yeah, we have found a way to make them profitable so they do pay for themselves. We're going to talk about that in the next video in this series. It'll appear here. While you're waiting for that,
one way we save money is by having the smaller cows. They eat less. They're not all sunshine and rainbows though. There are cons to the mini jerseys. And if you want to check out this video about what's easier, milking a big cow or milking a little cow, it might surprise you.